Hey, it's the DK and Me show. This is Dustin Kane, and I'm trying out a new segment today called the DK and Me Lunch Hour. And I have a very special guest with me today, my coworker Wesley. Wesley, say what's up.
Hello.
So the reason why I have brought Wesley on the show is because we're going to talk about the breaking news of Man of Steel 2. It's officially been announced that they have broken ground on it and that they are in active development on the movie. This is something we've been waiting for. Obviously, we got Batman vs. Superman out of that, but we haven't yet heard any news about a direct sequel to Man of Steel. So what we're going to try to do is get all your thoughts on what you expect to see from the film. We're going to definitely share that with you today. So I'm going to go over to my boy Wesley over here. And I don't know, what do you think about that?
I think that the new Superman is going to open up a bigger adventure than what people seem to have been expecting of Superman. I would say that safely after the Man of Steel, which did something pretty epic as they established everything directly from Krypton and its experience and what had happened to that, and immediately opened up the DC universe to a bigger galactic perspective. Yeah. And we only had 15 awesome minutes of unique creatures, a complete different government construction, environmental and planetary. We got to watch the whole thing as it came to a crumble, but what we end up seeing in the remainder of the movie is mostly what we've expected from like the shows Smallville, what most of us have seen in any of the previous Superman movies, is him finding himself via his human experiences.
Oh yeah.
But the same sort of traversed into Batman vs. Superman, where he is now just playing an all-powerful being, and his character sort of comes to a plateauing. We stop seeing so much particular, Soup's growth, and it's focused primarily on Batman. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of really excited to see if they're going to now do a new Man of Steel 2, to see where they're going to go with all of this, because now at this point where Superman is sort of been left off, he's in the nether realm in his experiences from Batman v Superman, for those of you who have seen it.
Yeah.
I also don't want to completely blow it for those of you who haven't.
Yes. Good call on that one. Now, where do you think that Man of Steel 2 might fit in, especially with all these new movies coming out within the DC universe? Because obviously we've got Wonder Woman and Justice League coming out next year, and then over the next few years, all of the Justice League members are going to get their own films. So do you think that Warner Brothers and DC movies might try to squeeze it in somewhere and maybe try to fit it into this universe at all?
Honestly, what I think is that in order for us to finish telling the story of Superman, this moment, sort of where Batman v Superman leaves us, is the story has probably 2 or 3 potentials, and it can go off in either one of these directions. And I think one of my favorites has got to be something that one of my favorite illustrator artists worked on about 8 years ago, was Superman leaves from Earth because of his experiences and what he's gone through, and because of sort of his traumas, we'll leave it at that. He's also got some memory loss that's going on, and he's really unsatisfied with how he is being taken by those on Earth. And so, to sort of find himself, he traverses back towards the direction of Krypton. And because of this, he's now under a much weaker star. He does not have the same abilities. He's actually become, in a sense, somewhat more relatable because he has the human characteristics. He's much weaker. Though the coolest thing about all of that is now finding sort of our deeper connection to him. He's literally light years way from us. And he actually finds himself amongst a solar system. I believe it's either around Krypton or a solar system close by Krypton that actually has somewhat habitable planets. And he finds himself on one of them trying to make another life. But he's living amongst sort of stragglers from other places. So this means me now, in a similar sense, the way that Guardians of the Galaxy is doing for the Marvel Universe, DC will have an opportunity to introduce alien species and other galactic adventures into this universe, which will be very important by some of the hints we were given in Batman v Superman of the things that are on the horizon.
Oh, yeah.
Any of you have seen the Justice League recruitment video,
Yes.
trailer, so you understand that Bruce is now very aware of what's coming on the horizon. But that's just the beginning. That's like lap one of a very long race, because there are other very large entities that are entirely against the Justice League. That still need to be established. And the second that they opened up some of those pages in Batman v Superman, we now realize that they're going to have to incorporate galactic creatures. And it'll be an awesome battle. I would safely say that it is something that is going to be as exciting to look forward to as Infinity Wars for the MCU.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, man, well said, dude. Anyways, now, do you think that they might do this more of a sequel to Man of Steel, or more of a sequel to Batman vs Superman? Because as I mentioned before, Batman vs Superman is kind of a semi-sequel to Man of Steel, connecting the universe. Or do you think they might kind of play off of some of the other movies, maybe possibly add some of the other characters in Man of Steel 2,
right,
just to let us know that, hey, this is a connected universe? Because as I've done in the Marvel universe, obviously we've seen other characters make cameos in other films, like we saw a little mini Captain America cameo in the second Thor movie, even though it wasn't really him.
Yeah, it's that Loki is playing him,
yeah.
he's like wearing his suit. Oh, it's so tight.
Yeah. But yeah, do you think that, like, say we might see, now obviously, we've seen Batman and Superman together, but do you think we might get, like, more of a character arc between Supes and Wonder Woman, perhaps, like we see in the comics?
There's this little, like, love story interaction between Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman, and she has this love affair with the two of them, but similarly as the sort of, any of the comic universes, Marvel or DC, they've got various layers of universe that tend to happen, and it depends on what the title of the comic is, who the writers were, what the storyline contains. So there's many different ways that could go. I think that Wonder Woman is going to stay an Earthbound entity because she's already been here for so long, which makes her and Bruce's storyline, Batman's storyline, run a lot more in tandem with one another.
Yeah.
So I think that they're going to hold truer to that. But Matthew, one of our other guests right here, actually had just mentioned the potential for a Supergirl reveal. And so here's my thing, is like, how are we going to now leeway into the potentials for Supergirl? And like I had mentioned just a minute ago about Superman deciding to leave Earth, at this point, if any of you see Batman v Superman, he kind of has a lot of reason to. He finds himself amongst all these other beings. More than likely, I think if they could try to at least touch on that route, then it gives a good excuse to establishing Supergirl. Because now we've got another Kryptonian who has some urge, some need to find herself back on Earth. And she, no different than Superman, has a yearning for stuff that, she can't quite remember or explain. So what if, there's the potential that, because, the Kryptonians were not morons, they obviously had some ships, some vessels that got them off planet to some of the closer, more habitable, whatever, moons and places, some of these regions where Superman tends to find himself at a later point in his story arc. Yeah. So maybe, there's an interaction where he will end up finding himself running into this girl, and give me potentially an excuse to have to go back to Earth, because that's how the storyline ended up going, and ends up bringing with him a little treasure trove of another Kryptonian who's capable of donning the cape.
So, I like that, because I can see cameos, little Easter eggs in the background of the influence of the Lantern Corps. And how they influence outside of Earth, their influence, and that would be a perfect opportunity to show that. You know what I mean? Like you said, okay, he found this girl who happens to be from Krypton. Oh my gosh, and kind of go into the story a little bit, but in the background we get to see all these other aliens and stuff, and that would be the perfect opportunity to throw in little Easter eggs of the Lantern Corps to show that this is coming, and this is coming big, and we need Green Lantern.
Yep.
So that'd be a perfect opportunity.
The minute we got that first 15 minutes of Man of Steel, I was really, really thrilled because I love space sci-fi, and I know that they've been going that way in the Marvel universe, and I've been so excited to see that happening. Guardians of the Galaxy was a thrill. I think granted it was a comic book long before, but it's related to heavy metal, which is what Fifth Element was based off of, and I think that Guardians of the Galaxy is this generation's Fifth Element. And the coolest thing though is because it's a part of a much bigger universe, is we're going to get to see that full expansion. And now the Green Lantern storyline similarly is huge, and it spans the freaking universe. And that gives us an opportunity now, like you were stating, once we have him out of Earth, which I think is where the fans are going to start really liking Superman again, because a lot of people get bored with suits. Like right now, Bat is owning Superman, and it's the relatability, it's the darkness, it's the gadgets.
It's also his villains. Unlike
Oh,
Superman, Batman has had, in my opinion, the single greatest villains out of just about any superhero in history. Superman needs his, and he has his own, but they're not in the story yet. You know what I mean?
And that actually brings up, because we're actually going to wrap this up here in a bit. We apologize for the noise in the background, but brings me to my last question for this segment. Villains. Matt, you made a very good point about that. What villains would we love to see in a Man of Steel 2 movie? Because there's quite a few of them. I mean, obviously all these superheroes have quite the rogue gallery of villains, but for Superman specifically, Wesley, what are you expecting to see in the Man of Steel sequel?
I'm hoping to see little tidbits of the Anti-Monitor. Anti-Monitor is one of the big villains that came about during the New 52 Rebirth. So that big boom, which I think they're pulling some of this storyline from, and to the reasons why I was excited about where I think this might go. My previous artist, my inspirational artist, Michael Turner, had part in a storyline where a girl, one of these alien beings he interacted with on this planet, actually took Superman's powers from him and came to Earth and intended on destroying his little blue dot of wonderfulness. It's this love story between him and this alien woman, which ends up being, and I fear I'm giving a lot of this away, but you can go check these comic issues out.
Yeah, go check them out.
Superman and such. She comes down to destroy Earth, and it sparks him into coming down here. Now, the problem is Superman doesn't have his powers. How does he get to Earth? I'll give you that one more now. Bit of how he has to get
Well, I wish we had a little bit more time, but unfortunately we have to go do adult stuff and go back to work. So, anyways, that is it for our first segment of the DK and Me Show lunch hour. I would like to thank my special guests today, Wesley and Matt over here. Matt, give a wave. This has been the DK and Me Show lunch hour. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, and we'll catch you later.